Welcome to Drinkin' Bro Sports. Little disappointment in my voice here today, obviously. Down goes Ohio State, D'Anthony. Down goes Ohio State in the national championship. I was in Miami, and that is the correct pronunciation of the word Miami. You don't pronounce the M. Every professional knows that. And as it pains me to say, Dan, we lost. Ohio State lost, but it was a strange one, man. It was, in all honesty, like I know I fucking joke around a lot on this show. That's probably the proudest I've ever been of a team just trying to compete in my life. Typically, if a team's getting blown out or whatever, whoever it is, my team, anybody else's team, well, I'll just walk out in the third quarter or whatever. This one I stayed till the end because everything was stacked against those guys. I didn't even know who the players were towards the end, like at all. There was a guy in for Ohio State that was a running back. He was fourth string from a practice squad, and he had to play, and he was number 24. No one knew who he was. I thought it was a DB that they had actually just put in there to go in there. But waiting in the. I was in the restaurant inside the stadium just for that list to come out to see if anybody was on the COVID list or not, because there had been a bunch of rumors that there were, and then boom, 13 players. And then they were like, oh, hey, man, your kickers are missing. All your kickers are missing. So there was a kid from the practice squad on there that they had suited up, and then half your defense is missing. Yeah. And then the opening play when Trey Sermon broke his collarbone and was taken to the hospital, I was like, well, this is going to get bad. Yeah. This is going to get bad. Justin Fields, too, he's definitely got broken ribs, by the way.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He was wincing on every single throw. But looking at it as a whole, because I know the Big Ten had tried to push this game because of so many people that were in COVID protocol and all this other stuff, and the SEC said no. I agree with that decision. The game needed to be played because, as we're seeing in the NBA, these cases keep popping up every single day. All these NBA games are getting canceled.
Yeah, Zion's in the protocol. I guess that's the protocol for the NBA now, is a guy with COVID or COVID exposure or whatever the fuck. I don't know what it is.
Tracing or what? Like I'm not sure. And everybody was asking. They were like, "Why does Ohio State have so many fucking players with COVID or in the protocol every week?" The Big Ten's got weird rules, man. They were testing every single day, which I don't necessarily agree with. Bama was like YOLO. SEC doesn't give a shit about anything. They're just like, man, get out there. We tested 6 months ago. You're fine, right? Which is the way it should be. And that's what I personally believe in. But a lot of the Big Ten schools are fucking liberal. And then Kevin Warren is the commissioner, is the goddamn worst.
Doesn't his son play in the SEC?
Yeah, plays in the SEC. It was a 21-day out rule if you had COVID or were in contact with somebody, and then they knocked it down to 17, and I'm not sure if it was 10 or whatever afterwards. But
well, it tells you that the numbers are arbitrary, right?
Yeah. Because
otherwise they wouldn't be like if the answer is it takes X amount of days, then that's the answer. There's no massaging that after the fact. So obviously you can tell when somebody's like, hey, just give me $20, and you're like, well, I've only got 10. They're like, oh, that's fine. Like, what the fuck? Did you just try to like cheat me out of $10, you piece of shit?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they've done this entire time, is try to cheat us out of our own time and money.
Yes.
That's all anybody does, really.
Yeah. But the disappointment when I walked in that stadium and saw that list, and I had heard Herb Street say, hey, man, there's entire position groups that were out. It was our defensive ends, the kickers, and then turns out the running back broke his collarbone. Yeah. I stand by what I said last week on the show, though, for real. I think Ohio State definitely. Well, last week my prediction was that Ohio State would win, and that it would be a heavy dose of Trey Sermon, and that was the way to beat Alabama because they have a weak run defense. Right. Their corners are great. Surtain and those guys. Surtain is probably the best corner in college this year. That kid's amazing, but so is his dad, Patrick Surtain. So It's not really that wasn't really that shocking. But you needed to run the ball down their throats. That being said, our second string was in there, Master Teague. He got hurt as well, and then we had to go to fourth string after that. If you look at the numbers of this, Ohio State still had 160 yards rushing with the fourth and third string, all these fucking weird.
It definitely wasn't like they got shut down. And
No.
to be honest, it would have been a lot more rushing yards had they not been so far behind, and we're still able to use the run game. Obviously, that was off the table at some point, right?
Well, what happened was because I was in the stadium and I didn't, for whatever reason, man, they didn't show that Trey Sermon going to the hospital thing. I had to find it on Twitter because there was a few of us Ohio State fans up there, and we were like, I don't understand why Trey Sermon's not in.
Right.
I did not know he had broke his shit and they took him to the hospital. I had to find that out through Twitter, and then I was the one who told some people around me, and they were like, no fucking way. And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, the game is over. At that point, though, we were tied in the second quarter. I think it was like 14-14. And it appeared as if Bama found out the news during that quarter as well. And they're like, oh, well, let's just stack the box and go after Fields. Because at that point, you become one-dimensional, and you're just throwing the ball at that point. And if there is no run game to go against, to keep a defense honest like that, yeah, man, you could shut Fields down, and then he took a couple shots to the ribs as well, which look, any good team should do. Take their fucking weakness and exploit it. But then they started to run it up like midway through the second, where I was just like, all right, because one of the backup defensive ends went out for Ohio State as well. You're down to fucking nothing on these teams at that point. So I really do stand by what I said. I think a great run game would have beat Alabama, in my opinion. Looking back at their schedule, there was no great rusher that went against Alabama this year.
No, not really. I mean, there weren't a whole lot of great running backs in the SEC in general, right?
Not that I can think of, besides Najee Harris, but
like Najee Harris,
he's on Alabama.
Last year, I mean, Clyde Edward-Helaire, what's his nuts at Georgia was really good. I mean, there was a number. Pretty much every competitive team in the SEC had a good running back.
Right.
Well, it wasn't the case this year.
Right. And even Najee Harris, like shit, he, in my opinion, is the best running back in college, right?
Statistically speaking, yeah. Whether it translates or not, yeah.
Right. And we'll see in the NFL. I know you said ATN. A lot of scouts are saying ATN as well.
It's because of his ability to catch the ball.
Yep.
Like you can literally on every single play line him up as a slot receiver, and it will be a value add. That's not something you can say about a lot of running backs, particularly not ones that are good at actually running the ball, right?
Right.
I mean, Sony Michel is good at that. Not the best necessarily at catching the ball in the flat. James White is, though. And that's where he makes his money, and the tandem is a great combination. Etienne has both things, right? Whether he can do both at the NFL level is a whole other story. We won't know until he's a couple of games in.
No, we won't know. But look, I had the respect for Najee Harris. He had 22 carries and only 79 yards in that game. Now, I know fucking Mac Jones had 500 and whatever. To me, that was to be expected. This Devontae Smith kid, so shit, man. I have not seen him play in real life before. I think we saw him at LSU, but that was a weird game. It was like 29-0. And
he was a fucking freshman then.
Yeah, and there was also like Jerry Jeudy was ahead of those, and Ruggs and all those guys were ahead of him. But this Devonta Smith, man, I think that is this is going to be a bold statement. I think that's the best wide receiver in college that I have ever seen in my life in person.
He might be, and he might get even better in the NFL.
Yes, because he's so much faster than everyone else.
He's never not open.
No. It seems like he's never not open. He's 6'3" and 230 pounds right now, and he's still the fastest guy on the field.
No, he's 175. So he's a thin.
That's not what his fucking. Oh, I'm looking at Najee Harris. I'm sorry. Devonna Smith is a thin guy.
Like 6'1", not even 6'1".
No,
6'1", 175 is what he's listed at in the Alabama program right now.
But he's what year is he? Or
he's gone.
How old is he? I know he's gone for sure.
Gone. I think he's a junior.
No, he's a senior. So he's.
Oh, is he?
He's it doesn't say his goddamn age here. Hang on, bio.
He's 22.
22, yeah.
Okay.
So he's still got some time to put some weight on.
Yeah.
He's obviously not going to get taller. And if they say 6'1", he's really 6 foot tall, probably, right? Maybe 5'11" and change. But that's not stopped anybody.
No.
Frankly, I mean, he's a guy in the model of Tyreek Hill. And we'll see what his combines look like. But I'm less like what Fake Dan's talking about. I'm less concerned about the numbers that he gets there with the fact that every time I've ever seen him play, he seems on almost every time he gets targeted, he's wide fucking open. No one's near him. Like he runs these seam routes out of the slot sometimes. And I don't know if people are fucking on drugs or stupid. Like, do you not know he's running for the house right now? He's the fastest guy on the field. What are you doing? He just zooms by people, gets in between the defense, and he is wide the fuck open.
It's also just game speed because I think he only runs like a 4.4. Like
Really?
Jalen Waddle is the one that runs like a 4.2.
Yeah.
He's the fast one. But yeah, no, it's all game speed.
Here's the thing with him, man. It's like, dude, you can't stop him. He's the very best that I have ever seen, and he's open because he gets open, not from some pick or whatever, man. You can just leave that dude on an island, and no matter who it is, he's going to beat them.
I mean, think about what kind of weapon that is for a quarterback in the NFL. When you know, like, he's probably going to be open no matter what else happens. That guy's going to be open. The confidence that inspires to actually go through your progressions and not just like give it a cursory look and then telegraph a pass and get picked off. Mm-hmm. To know that motherfucker's probably going to be open over there.
Yeah.
Whenever I need it, it's like having Travis Kelce on your team, basically.
Yeah.
Like I can throw the ball to him on pretty much any down. And he's going to catch it, and he might actually get some yak as well out of it. Look what it does for people when they have that sure thing. And he's got to gain some weight. He's not going to do it at 175. That Marvin Harrison bullshit's over. Nobody's ever.
I don't know how Devontae Adams is kind of like that. Like he's a smaller dude.
He's not that small though.
But he gets hurt. He gets hurt a lot because of that. Not being big enough. Tyreek Hill is what 5'10". Yeah, he's 185.
He's a small guy. Yeah.
When you're that fast, you can always just run away from people. But
he doesn't get hit a lot. But I remember. I mean, you remember this in the late '90s and early 2000s. Marvin Harrison used to go over the middle. Like he was a guy, like he was a fucking big dude. He was not a big dude. He was a small man.
Yeah,
and he would fucking go over the middle every single time.
The other part about this was so they put Ohio State's best dude. It was Sean Wade, who was going in the top 15 in the draft as well, and he was covering Devonna Smith. He said he wanted to cover Devonna Smith. My God, man, going up against if you're a first rounder going up against a first rounder like that and just absolutely blowing his fucking doors off. I wonder if Sean Wade doesn't maybe consider coming back for senior year after that performance. Because one would have to think his draft stock dropped after that.
I think Mac Jones' draft stock probably dropped when everybody saw him without a shirt on.
Did not see that.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. It's like 20 years old. He's got a dad bod already. I mean, he's playing
Most
quarterback
quarterbacks
well.
do. To be fair, though,
yeah, that's true.
No, we'll bring it.
Pop it up on the screen.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, that's pretty much every quarterback body.
No, it's not.
Name. Look at. You ever seen Peyton Manning or Eli with his shirt off? That's it right there.
Find a picture of Peyton Manning with his shirt off and let's look at it because I guarantee it doesn't look like that.
By the way, I'm not on the Mac Jones hype train. There was a lot of balls that he threw that he just has the best receivers that were like, hey man, there's early Peyton Manning. He looked pretty good.
That's Peyton Manning now, and he's retired. But look at him during his actual playing career.
Yeah. You're right.
Look,
you're in college. COVID.
No. You should be at your best ever shape in college, man.
It's true.
And Mac Jones looked like he's a 40-year-old alcoholic with the body there.
It's true. I'm not sold on Mac Jones being a starter in the NFL.
No, there's no fucking.
He just has the best wide receivers on the planet.
This guy's like fat.
Yeah, the best offensive line, the best receivers,
the best everything.
Doesn't matter.
Same with Tua, by the way. Like I've never been sold on Tua. When they look back at a picture of those two guys, I mean, they had Jerry Jeudy, Ruggs, Smith. Like, I mean, you had the best wide receivers ever.
Speaking of Tua, there's a rumor floating around right now that the Texans want to trade Deshaun Watson to Miami for Tua and a couple of picks.
Oh, do it. If you're Miami, do that trade.
Yeah.
10 seconds.
That's allegedly
it's
allegedly one of their fallback plans in case Watson refuses to re-sign, and I don't think he's going to play for them again.
Well,
I think Watson's out.
Watson has a huge contract. That he just signed right before the season started. So
I don't think
he's going to have to just not report or say fuck off.
No, I think they're going to. I think they're going to trade him. I don't think there's any chance he plays one more game for the Texans. He's probably going to end up in New England or something like that.
Right.
Or somewhere else, maybe somewhere where a quarterback's retiring, like New Orleans or something like that. We'll come out and trade for him, but I don't think he plays one more snap.
He's got to go full Carson Palmer.
He doesn't have to though, because you have to trade on what's already happened. Zeke, right, and his bullshit, and maybe start leaning more towards the NBA. Houston just lost one of their star players, and they're not going to be able to keep him. There's no fucking way after this. And you know why it is because they hired a consulting firm, right? Mm-hmm. to tell them who their next general manager should be, who their coach should be, blah, blah, blah. They gave a list of a couple of different people that they recommended. One of them was that dick from the Sunday Night Football.
Louis Riddick?
Louis, yeah. Fuck no.
Yeah, no.
Jesus Christ.
They gave him 5 options for GMs, and they didn't hire any of them.
Yeah, they gave him 5 options for GMs, including 2 black dudes, I think. And they didn't hire any of them. Instead, hired a white dude. And that's why Watson wants to leave, basically. That and the fact that the Texans have sent all of his talent away. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're a quarterback and you have the best receiver in football, and they're like, they trade him. Yeah. Basically trade him the fuck out of there. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like being in a fight and somebody comes over and takes your gun away. You're just like standing there with no gun now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
By the way, how do we get in on that racket that is consulting firms? Like, I just want to be on a firm that gives you 5 coaching candidates.
It's fucking crazy. The whole thing, dude, even hiring off of race and all that shit, like, it's so degrading where you're just like, because then if you're black, you have to question why you're even there too, where it's just like, do they really want me in here? What's the whole thing's fucked. By the way, Ivan Huertz's got a great point. He says Devonta Smith might get drafted before Justin Fields. I would. If I'm an NFL GM, I'd take Devonta Smith.
I wouldn't even draft Justin Fields.
Number 2. I would take him number 2.
Justin Fields, in my opinion, is not a first-round draft pick, honestly.
Most mock drafts have Devonta Smith as the second receiver.
Who's one?
Jamar Chase, who opted out at LSU.
Oh, for LSU? Yeah. He's good, but I'm telling you, man, I've seen both play in real life. I've never, ever, ever seen someone as great as Devonta Smith.
Yeah.
And I've got a mutual buddy who's on the staff of Alabama. After that game, I was so impressed. I was like, hey, man, congrats and all that stuff. Like, you won again. But he was like, dude, we went against half your team. And it was a fun little thing. But I go, in all sincerity, I was like, dude, we go to all these games. I get to see all these players usually on the field and all this other shit. I was like, I'm not really impressed by anybody. And I was like, I was really fucking impressed by this Devonta Smith kid. I was like, what's his story in real life? And he said it was the hardest working athlete they've ever, he's like, dude, that's the hardest working athlete I've ever coached. Humble as fuck. And all he wants to do is get better every day. They were like, if every player had that in him, they would all be superstars. But they were like, dude, with the talent that he has and the mindset, like, they were like, that guy is the very best we've ever had in this program. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that's high praise.
He's like the one guy I've ever seen Nick Saban compliment.
Ever. Look, even the rest of the coaches, because I'm not going to say who it is, but yeah, man, he was just like, dude, the best kid in the world. And sincerely, we hope he is like the biggest superstar of all time because he's that fucking good. I have not seen a wide receiver in real life that great. And I mean, he smoked Sean Wade. And Sean Wade is a top 15 draft pick, man. I mean, it wasn't even close.
And Jamar Chase will suffer from not having played recently.
Yeah.
There will be a lingering doubt in everybody's mind. Is he still that guy, or did he lose whatever the fuck? I mean, it's just it's what do you call it? Recency bias. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Graziano from ESPN thinks that the 49ers is the most likely place Deshaun Watson would land, and that actually makes sense.
Oof.
Because they've got the 12th pick, and they don't necessarily need the 12th pick.
No.
They can trade down to whatever Houston's pick is, or give up their first round altogether and get a receiver in the second round and do pretty well, and get to pick up Watson in that deal. For the 49ers, that would be pretty. With that defense, that would be. And with that defense and Shanahan as your coach, you only need like some mid-tier offensive weapons in addition to Watson, and you're a pretty good team already.
Yeah,
right?
with Kittle. Oh, man.
That'd be a good one. I would actually like to see that because it would make the NFC a little more competitive.
Yeah.
To be honest, because Seattle looked like shit. I mean, they look terrible.
They look terrible.
They look like children.
I don't know how the Rams are still in it, but we did the NFL show with Joe Thomas. The beauty was just telling Joe Thomas that the Chiefs were going to win and cover. To him, it was awesome. But back to this college football game here. We'll wrap up the season on this show. Bama fans are still, I know I've said this 1,000 times and I'll say it again. Mm-hmm. Bama fans are it's ISIS at 1, Bama fans at 2. They're just insufferable. I tried to warn Jesse because Jesse came with me. She was like, hey, where's the game? And I was like, it's in Miami. She was like, great, I'll go. Like, she was fucking amped about going to a game. She did not want to see Ohio State in another cold weather sitch or anything like that. But Miami, she was like, I'm all in for. I can shop and have some decent food or whatever, right? We get to the game, and we own a ticketing company, drinkinbrostickets.com, obviously. So we get great seats. We were in a fucking suite. So we're in a suite, and we show up, and there's 4 Bama fans, like super white trash. Like I'm talking like mullet, the whole fucking thing.
So it's. I mean, good for them. They didn't. They were able to get back to the game after having stormed the Capitol, right? So positive spin on that story.
I mean, this was we walk in, beautiful stadium. The suite was awesome or whatever, and padded seats. And you have a row number in there. It says row 1 and seats 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I walk in and I see these guys, and I'm like, hey man, do you have these tickets? And it was a guy was like, yep, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are mine. And then just went back to slugging like a Bud Light tall boy, and I was like, cool, man, I have the same tickets. Now, this has never happened to me in my life, except for on a flight once where somebody had my seat. And I was like, I'll just grab an usher and we'll figure this out, right? The usher comes down and was like, sir, can I see your tickets into the suite? And the guy, still confident as shit, holds up his phone. He's like, here we go. And they were like, yeah, man, this is, you're in standing room by the tables. You're back by the tables. And I looked at this guy who was like the ringleader, and I go, what was the hope and dream behind this? Like, what did you think was going to happen here in a suite? And he looks at me and he goes, man, had to try, didn't we? Roll Tide. Like in my face and Jesse's face or whatever. And I'm wearing like an Ohio State jersey, and I'm like, I looked at Jesse and I go, this is what you're in for. She goes, is this what all their fans are like? And I go, yes. And I go, it's only going to get worse. Because at that point, we had the list of players that was out. As soon as the kickers and all the other defense and all that shit was out, I knew, I was like, it's going to be next to impossible to win this game at this point. Because Bama is a great team, and there's no disrespect to that.
No, they're
very deserving of a national championship. But Ohio State had a great shot. The 2 best teams made it. I just wish the COVID shit wasn't there. But it's the time we live in, and it is what it is. I go, get ready, because it's going to get worse than this. And in that stadium that day was only at 20% capacity. So there was 13,000 people. It's empty, and you can hear everybody's conversations all over the stadium. And you can see people yelling at one another and all this other shit. And in the fourth quarter, start of the fourth, and at this point, I don't even know any of the players that were alive or allowed to play in the game for Ohio State or whatever. And these Bama fans just turned back to me, and they were like, hey, man, fuck you. Roll Tide. We fucking fuck Ohio State or whatever. And I was like, well, and at this point, I'd had more than a few drinks, and I was like, did you beat us or did you beat China? Let's be honest. Half our fucking team's out with COVID. And now, because I'm loud as shit, they're loud as shit, half the stadium can literally hear this conversation going back and forth. And they were like, man, we would have beat you without the COVID shit or whatever. And I was like, we'll never know, And I was like, same with the Trump vote. We'll never actually know what happened on that. And people are dying laughing. And at this point, I'm almost on a stage, and I'm just going the fuck off on all these Alabama fans.
So it's this is your dream.
It was my dream.
Yeah.
It was my dream. There was a bald guy with his hot wife, that fat bald guy, and he was just like, yeah, man, half your team's missing. It wouldn't matter anyway. And I was like, well, did you tell your wife when half your fucking hair went missing that, that it was somebody else? Or did you say, hey, man, this is me. This is who I am, and I love you. It just got super out of hand to the point where Jesse was like, all right, we should probably call this. So,
it's different.
You've been with me at these games.
It's different when I'm there at the Super Bowl, and that this Rams fan, he was a Mexican dude, and he had his entire family, like 6 children, his wife, probably like her sister or something, and then there were a couple of older people, so maybe his family or some shit. I don't know, but it was a lot of money to spend on the Super Bowl. For a guy that was behaving the way he was. He was just like very belligerent and trying to talk shit. And he was the second guy that evening that you threatened to rape in front of his family.
Yeah. So look, things can always get worse when I'm around.
Yeah.
They didn't.
But it's different when I'm there, because if that guy had tried to start some shit, we would have beat the Christ out of him.
Yeah.
And then I would have beat up his wife, and I probably would have beat up his kids too, because they need to learn that lesson before they get involved in anything a little bit more serious, right?
Yeah.
If you're a 6-year-old and you go to the Super Bowl for the first time, it's a big deal. If your dad starts piping off at the mouth and gets his ass kicked, and then you get your ass kicked as well, then you never make that mistake again.
No, and it's also your dad got your ass kicked for you, and that's what it is.
Yeah. So what's he going to get you for Christmas next year, really? I mean, I feel like you've got your dad by the balls that whole next calendar year, maybe several years after that. He's like, oh, I don't know about that fucking. I don't know about that electric skateboard. Like, what do you know about getting your ass kicked by a couple of white dudes at the Super Bowl? Because that's what happened. That one dude wouldn't stop talking about animals having sex, and he was punching me in the face the whole time.
Yeah.
But that's me, by the way, the other guy.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But it's the SEC in general. It's like all their fans are just horrific, and I can't put my finger. What did you guys say about the Bama fans? You had an interesting thing earlier. T-shirt Bama fans, is that what you called them?
Yeah, just the T-shirt fans, the kids that didn't actually go to the school. They're the worst.
Kids is loose. It's not the kids.
The guys.
It's the 40-year-old men.
It is, because that was one of the comments I made. I was like, what year did you guys graduate?
Yeah.
Dying laughing, and I was like, dude, everybody started laughing. It was like, that's the other thing too. I have a hard time when people didn't go to the school, like cheering for them, where I'm like, hey man, I don't cheer for an opposing high school that I didn't go to, just because they were from the state of Georgia. I always found that odd. And with Alabama in particular, it is the easiest school in America to get into.
No.
It is, yes.
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Alabama's
It's like 97% acceptance rate.
Yeah, Alabama's in the 80s, which is kind of average. It's actually gotten harder since they got good at football.
Oh, really?
Because
That's funny.
a ton of out-of-state kids are who are dumb but want to go out of state. Are like, hey, fuck it, I want to go to Bama. So there's too many kids.
Because if you go to an ACC school or Big Ten, you gotta have good grades to get into that shit. So it's whatever. But
and the other thing about that is in a lot of those schools, any of the lottery schools, so South Carolina, Georgia, I think Texas is one of them too. If you have a B average in high school, you immediately get accepted into whatever state colleges exist in that state. Right.
Yes.
There's no debate about that. If you have a 3.0 or higher for Texas, you just get accepted.
Yeah, it's harder to get into Texas as an out-of-state student.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm sure Alabama's the same. They have the lottery there too, right?
No. Yeah.
So it's probably the same there. I mean, but it's Alabama. Look,
I
want to be real clear about something right quick. And
go ahead.
I'm not trying to monolith anybody. I'm not trying to stereotype anybody. But when you think about higher education, you don't think about Alabama, right? When you think about books, you don't think about Alabama. If somebody said they're burning books, I'd be like,
not at Alabama.
Is it Alabama? Is it burning books? Do they still have books left? And I'm not trying to be a dick to Alabamans or whatever the fuck you assholes call yourself. But let's be fucking real about this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just, oh god, they're awful. And then the other SEC fans, because here's the thing, I'm able to, because we host this show, so I'm able to look at it honestly and be honest about fan bases, players, all that shit. Like Nick Saban is the very best coach in college of all time. There's no debate over that. He's the Bill Belichick of college football. My God, man, all that guy does is win.
That's the good thing that came out of this national championship. There is no question.
None. He is the very best of all time.
He's the best.
Yes.
You can talk about some of the coaches from back in the day and their records versus his and all that stuff, but they didn't play the same competition. They didn't play in such a dynamic environment. They didn't do it over. I mean, if you were Notre Dame and you won 10 fucking championships in a row back in the 40s, I mean, cool, man. There was 6 teams playing then.
Yeah.
You know, now there's 180 goddamn teams. There's 5 major conferences full of good teams, at least mediocre teams.
Yeah.
You were able to not only do it at one university, but 2, right? Mm-hmm. You've won titles at multiple universities, and over the last, since 2009, they've won 6 titles.
Yeah.
So over the last 11 years, they've won 6 titles. More, they've won over 50% of the titles.
Yes,
right.
Look, there is no denying how great
ever.
Saban is. Also, the sun
but
shines.
his daughter.
Yeah, fucking daughter. She punched somebody in the face, right?
No.
It's a whole. So
back in the day when she was in college, she beat the shit out of her sorority sister.
Violently. To say she punched her is not accurate.
She was in the fucking hospital.
She put that girl in the hospital.
What happened though?
It was almost like a coma or something.
Did she deserve it?
No. So the story was
you intercepted my Sephora shipment, bitch.
Yeah.
Sephora didn't pay for me to say that, by the way.
But me and Rob have talked about this. Like, yeah, Nick Saban is by far the GOAT, but like his competition, there's not a whole lot out there. Like, college football coaches are a step above a middle school gym teacher.
So here's the thing. I would have said Urban Meyer had he continued going, because, I mean, dude, Ohio State ran no buzzsaw like, against those Florida teams. I was at the one game where they got fucking housed by Tim Tebow.
Oh, Urban's too. Like,
if he would, it would have been awesome if Urban would have continued to see that rivalry and what would have happened, but there isn't anybody else near or close to Saban. Maybe Dabo will be that guy in the future, but we'll see.
We've concluded there's like 5 good college football coaches.
Yeah, and that's something we'll talk about the second half of the show about next season and everything, because you're going to be in for the same thing you've been in for the last 10 years. It's going to be the same 3 teams.
Because we're going through the list, and
but
we're
also
like, Jimbo's a top 5 coach? That's weird.
Jimbo Fisher?
Yeah. We're like, I guess he is.
If Kellen Mond stays at A&M, they've got a shot at the playoffs next year. But that dipshit wants to go pro for whatever reason. Like, he's not going to get drafted, so I don't know what the fuck they're doing. But look, Saban is the very best of all time and the best ever to do it. I have zero problem with that. The fan base, though, of Alabama and just the SEC in general, like even when Georgia got hot a couple years ago into that national championship, Georgia fans popped up out of nowhere and talking shit like they were there every year. And they became awful humans. And it was just like, Jesus Christ. Same with LSU last year. It was like, fuck, man. Look, I understand. And I was able to say after the game was over, I was like, that is the greatest team of all time. I still think that LSU team is better than this year's Alabama team, for sure. With Burrow, and Burrow was throwing 60 touchdowns he threw?
Yeah, but I mean, statistically, I think Bama's actually better.
No, Allaire, Justin Jefferson, all those guys are now unbelievable.
He's saying statistically, though, that might be true. But
Yeah.
I mean, LSU didn't benefit from the things that Alabama benefited from. Playing Notre Dame was one of them, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And then having Ohio State be riddled with bullshit the entire. I mean, like their entire system was fucked. They didn't have any kickers. They were missing dudes on defense. Fields was hurt, and they had guys out with COVID. I mean, it was just like a perfect storm. Alabama, honestly, I don't know if Ohio State would have won this game either way, but just because of Devonna Smith, to be honest. But certainly would have been closer than this.
I think, like I said last week, you run the ball and you keep them off the field. Because the defense held up for a quarter, whatever defense that was, held up for a quarter, and shit, they even had a takeaway and scored a touchdown off of that. Like, when you can't run the football though, and you can't chew up the clock, it's so hard to say, man, because that's the way to stop a team.
Yeah,
and a Devonta Smith, to be honest with you, is just to keep him off the field.
Yeah, you got to jam him up at the line, but you can only do that if you don't have to stack the box.
So you need those, 5 to 7 minute drives that Ohio State was doing consistently over the last 3 weeks. It's the same way they beat Clemson, right?
Yeah.
And then you can go after Lawrence all day long, which they did. And then Alabama did the same thing to Fields. Once the Trey Sermon broke his collarbone, they went after Fields, man, and went yard that second quarter, and that's where shit fell apart for them. But I think that's the way to beat them. I'd love to see those two teams at full strength. It's a fucking weird year, man. That'll never happen. And therefore, look, Alabama won the national championship. It's fine. There was a guy, a drinking bro, who I bet named Drew Eads in our group. Mm-hmm. The day after Clemson, we beat Clemson, and we were going to play Alabama. He was just like, he was, hey, man, let's bet on Ohio State. I was like, great, let's do it. $500 is what he wanted to bet. And then after I was like, that's fine. And then he goes, money line. The spread was 8, Whenever some asshole says money line immediately, I don't really have.
It got to 9.5 by kick.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the reason why was because all those fucking dudes were out and the spread kept going up.
Over-under was 75, though, that hit.
And it was on 75 even. It was 51-24.
76.
That was the final. Was it 52-24?
Yeah.
It was. Oh, so they got it by 1 point.
By 1 point.
Wow. I didn't touch that over. I think I had it in one parlay.
They had it by
jacked
the
it up
third
to
quarter,
81, but
I took the parlay. I took the over rather down on the teaser to 69.
Did you really?
Yeah, just because,
to do it.
man. Why not? I don't care.
But yeah, this Drew Eads was like, man, money line, and I was like, all right, great. Whenever somebody says money line, you're favored by 8. Like you don't really have a lot of confidence in your team that you're going to win. And then after, look, there was 13 guys out. Trey Sermon broke his fucking collarbone. Literally 10 seconds after that game ended on Facebook, he was like, pay me my money. You remember that bet, man, or whatever. And I was like, do you really want to take this money after all of those people being out? And I go, send me your fucking PayPal, dude. I don't give a shit about the money. Send me your fucking PayPal, and I go, I'm genuinely surprised though that you want this money with all those people out and all that shit. Like, and especially Trey Sermon breaking his collarbone on the opening play, and he goes, man, would you've taken the money if Ohio State was going up against minus 13 people and Devonna Smith was out? And I go, no, I wouldn't have taken that money from you. You know why? Because it actually happened to me in real life. I went to the national championship game of Alabama versus Texas. One of my best friends was a diehard Longhorns fan. And so that was his dream, was to go to the national championship and see him. We're in Rose Bowl in Los Angeles, and he'd bet me $1,000 on that game. I didn't have a dog in that fight, but I thought Alabama was going to win. I thought otherwise when the game started. Shit, they raced out to a 7-0 lead. And then Saban tried a fake punt on like the 30-yard line. It didn't work out. It was weird. And it looked like Texas was going to roll that day, and Colt McCoy, same thing, broke his collarbone.
The noodle arm game.
Yeah, broke his
No, he didn't break anything. It was just like
what was it? What did he have?
His spirit.
His arm just got numb and he couldn't throw the ball.
Couldn't throw the football.
Yeah, he probably. What happens sometimes is it happens with pitchers, baseball pitchers as well. Is there's a number of tendons that run through the length of your arm. It's actually there's one that runs all the way down that goes through the forearm. It's the one that Nolan Ryan snapped early in his career. Then he came back throwing like 3 miles per hour faster than he did before. But yeah, it can roll over the bone in some cases, and it like pinches the nerve, and you don't feel your arm. Right.
Oh, gotcha.
So there's no way he could have continued.
Weird
at that point.
Freak
like
injury.
there's no shot for that.
Yeah.
If your fucking shit's fucked up, they can pump you full of Toradol and shit. But if your whole arm is numb, what the fuck are you gonna do, man?
Yeah. He was out, and they brought in their second string.
Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah.
His first game.
There's
as
no
a
reason
freshman.
for anybody to know this guy's name
at all, but
because you'll never hear it again after today's
He's
show.
a Super Bowl winner.
Here's the thing: with 3 minutes left, Texas had the ball to win that game against Alabama with this fucking no name. And my buddy looks at me after the game and he goes, "Hey man, I'll get you that $1,000. We can stop by the bank on the way home." And I was like, "I don't want your fucking money on that. Like, I want to see the best play the best with all their people and all of that shit. Like, if you're going against Vegas or whatever, it's another story. But I was like, you're my buddy. I'm not gonna fucking take your goddamn money over that. Like, that's shitty. I want to see the very best play. I don't want anybody to get injured ever. I'm not that guy who's ever going to cheer for an injury and be like, yeah, man, fuck it. Bama fans just don't give a fuck, dude. It's strange. I'll give you another $500 if you actually graduated from school there. But that fucking guy. I wanted him to know at the end of the day of like, hey, man, take this money, take this $500 and know how you got it. 13 players were, including all the kickers. I asked a dude from Ohio State, one of the parents, because the parents were sitting in front of us at that game, and I said, what was the game plan once you found out the kickers were out? And one of them had said that the coach said, well, look, it was a freshman on the practice squad. Anything over 30 yards, they were going to let him attempt. And extra points, obviously. But then other than that, if they got close to a field goal or anything, they were just going to go for it on every fourth down. Ohio State was. And
he
I
is
was
still a highly recruited Ohio State kicker.
Who is?
The guy that ran out.
Anybody that's at the kicker position, anybody that's at any position at Ohio State was highly recruited.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Actually, no. So here's the deal. When you walk on and do all that other shit, all these D1 schools, you keep one punter and you keep one kicker on scholarship, right? And other, like, to hang around, because I got invited to walk on at Ohio State, which I did. I got a bunch of scholarships out of, but it was for fucking punter. I played defense, punter, and kicker, so we didn't have one in high school, and that's what, ironically, that's what I got recruited for. When I went there, and you walk on, and they're like, hey, man, go to spring ball and all that shit, and they were like, the coach was honest. He goes, look, I'm going to give you a heads up. The guy's name was Brent Bartholomew. They were like, he's got a 4-year scholarship. He's your age, and he goes, we'll never have a scholarship for you. We will never have a scholarship for a backup punter, but we need one, obviously, and all that other shit. And I was just like, fuck that, dude. I don't want to do that. So I'm surprised that a really good kicker or punter would stay at any university if they went under scholarship. But this was that one miracle in life where, hey, man, you're it, bro. You're going to go in off the practice squad. Go have fun. Either way, yeah, Drew Eads, you can keep the money. I hope whatever is going on in your life, I want you to enjoy every last dollar of that, because clearly you needed it. 13 down and all the fucking Trey Sermon. Come on, man. But yeah, It felt like the Colt McCoy game all over again in real life because I just happened to be at both national championships. Once the word spread throughout the small amount of fans that were in the stadium, everybody was shocked about the Trey Sermon thing, and I was like, "Oh."
Drew
fuck,
Eads
man.
says that your impression of his voice is awesome. By the way,
I'm guessing that's what it sounds like.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was Chinese, like an older Chinese woman. That's what I thought. So do you want to do that impression?
Jesse does that one. Oh, you like it?
Well, if you buy the audio book of.
It is,
new
so
book, yeah.
yes.
You can hear me doing
as the
it.
sun rises, it dawns on him. Dan's playing a 55-year-old Chinese man. And
I think Chinaman is the right.
So
way to
I got
say
an
that.
email from Amazon that's saying the book has been held for review for content, and I wish I could be in that room to whoever's got to listen to that fucking thing and then try to determine what is right or wrong about comedy in this world.
Mm-hmm.
Holy fucking shit, I would pay for that. But so yeah, it's on hold right now. Amazon's reviewing it for content. All of this shit is going to get reviewed for content in the future. But Bama, man, look, if you're a Bama fan, you won again. The sun shines on that fucking team, dude. Colt McCoy injury was freakish. Trey Sermon thing and COVID was a freakish year.
Yeah.
The Alabama Georgia year was freakish to me, where it was just like Georgia was housing in them at halftime. They put in a freshman, Tua, who had never played. Watching that game, Tua was throwing to the wrong receivers on some of those and no looking. Like, that one seemed miraculous to me. The other one that LSU fans can bitch about was when LSU beat Bama at home in that 9-6 game that went into overtime.
Yeah.
And then they didn't. Ohio State's finished undefeated, but they were under that the tattoo gate thing.
Yeah.
So they just
couldn't
sit
get
out
in,
a year
yeah.
in the postseason, and they played Bama again. It was like, yeah, I mean, look, you won, but LSU already beat you at home. So what the fuck are we doing back in the national championship with those guys? Like, the sun smiles on that fucking team, man.
Well, I mean, look, there's a guy that's been in Drinkin Bros Sports the last couple of days talking about how Cincinnati should have got a shot.
Yeah. So speaking of which, we're at that point in the year, man, where it is time to give.
Let's do the sponsors first, and then we'll do that. Do the sponsors first
before we give the Sarah Williams Award away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the sponsors because I got to go pee. Stay on a single on him. I'm going to go pee.
Yeah.
We'll do sponsors. Giorgio's calling around.
Grab that trophy for me. Grab the Sarah Williams trophy for me, Giorgio. You can come into frame. You can come into camera, man. Where everybody knows you. Yeah, bring the trophy over. What's going on back there for you? I mean, I like it. I like that you're behind me. But yeah, we got sponsors who pay for the shit wagon to be on the air, obviously. KillcliffCBD.com. 30% off with the promo code Drinkin Bros and free shipping. These are the cans, kids. These are the new ones, the Joe Rogan ones. Joe Rogan has his own flavor now, pineapple and jalapeno. And if you listen to Joe Rogan's show today, they talk about our show and Dan on there in the opening 5 minutes of the show. And it's really fucking hilarious, dude. If you thought Dan Holloway was any different than he is in real life than he is on the show, that Joe Rogan thing will do it today. It was really fucking funny to hear. But Killcliff CBD, look, I believe it's only us and Rogan that promote it. We are gigantic fans of it, man. 25 milligrams of CBD in every single can. If you're drug tested at work, you will not piss hot. There is no THC in this. Killcliff is one of the only brands you can trust in that space as far as drinkables go. So you're safe to do it. It helps with aches and pains. Shit, it helped me after the goddamn championship was over. I had a fuck ton of those. And vodka. Gigantic fan of these guys, man. And 30% off and free shipping, which when you're buying a case of cans, really fucking helps, man. And it is the very best there is. So go out and check that out. Now, as always, we're brought to you as well, gambling-wise, by MyBookie.com. Promo code Drinkin Bros will get you 50% of your deposit back. So if you put $1,000 in, congratulations, you got another $500. Load up for the playoffs. We got 4 games this weekend, and then 2 after, and then the Super Bowl. We're getting down to the wire here, and then I hope March Madness goes off. We'll be doing another March Madness tournaments as well. Giveaway last year. Was it the signed Christian Laettner jersey last year?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, for
or
the shot.
that could have been 2 years ago. I don't remember.
We always give cool shit away.
Yeah.
And by the way, for the fantasy football people who won, I just got back from Miami, so it'll be shipping out Friday. All your gifts will be shipped out Friday. So we're going to be doing that. And then subscribe to Drinkin Bros Sports, the Facebook page. You can see all our live bets, including me getting housed My bookie finally fucking won, dude. God damn it, man.
They got us back.
I have had a monster year, and I took a big fat L on that one with Ohio State, and I still have quite a few ducats left in the old account, obviously, because the max bet was $5,000 on that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't bet as much as I otherwise would have because there was such a lack of information.
Yeah, and the same, man. A lot of people, because like, dude, that spread started screaming up the charts, man. I think it closed at 9.5 or 10.
Yeah.
As the information was leaking on who was out for Ohio State, it just kept going through the fucking roof. But that's our sponsor, man. They've been great to us, and we're gambling with them all through the playoffs. If you're wondering where the NFL odds are, we did a show with Joe Thomas on Tuesday, and we dropped all the NFL picks in there. So they're in there, and go to mybookie.com, promo code Drinkin Bros will half your deposit. And last but not least, ghostbed.com/Drinkin Bros. 30% off mattresses, sheets, pillows, adjustable bases, you name it. Go to ghostbed.com/Drinkin Bros today. I was always, I got the 36-month pay-as-you-go program, which is good with all the 30% off. So you can get all your shit. So if you're in a city that's shut down or whatever, man, you might as well be in comfort and do it relatively cheap. You're looking at like $35 a month for all the cool shit. You get all the cool shit there.
I think Ghost Bed, we've really got to do that for the Super Bowl. We need to talk to the guy and get a bed just put right here.
An adjustable base, yeah.
And that way, because it's going to be a long-ass show, it'll probably start, the Super Bowl starts, what, like 6 p.m. Eastern or some shit like that?
Yes.
Typically.
Yeah.
So we'll have to start at like
we're going to get
4:30 or so Central.
I think because of the cook-off show we're doing beforehand with Tailgate Legends.
So we'll be here all drinking all day.
Yeah.
I'll need a place to take a nap. And I might take a nap on the show.
So I think we're going to start to go live because we're Central. So that game will start at 5. And,
so like 4:30 or so for that one? 4:45?
For that show. But then the cooking show, the pregame show will be going live probably around noon, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. And I'd like to get a ghost bed in here, an adjustable base.
Yeah.
So we can get everybody in the same frame watching the game.
Yeah,
and
plus at some point I'm going to need to cream pie somebody on, not you, Giorgio, on a ghost bed in the office at some point, right?
Yes.
Doesn't really matter who it is as long as it's someone that was assigned female at birth, preferably. But if we got to go outside of that, that's fine. But I don't think we will.
No, I don't think we'll have to.
I'm quite a catch. Actually, Dakota and I discussed making a joint Hinge profile earlier, like Jack and Jared did, and then trying to compete with them.
Ah, I like that.
Pretty sure we would win.
Yeah, and plus you can get double dates off of that, right?
Yeah. I guess, that would be fine. Because Dakota's got a helicopter, so that's a pretty big flex. Yeah. And if they turn out to be communists, we can just throw them out of the helicopter, right?
Yeah.
Can you fucking stop? Can I finish my joke before you laugh, asshole?
Giorgio, you've got to stop.
I feel like that's what happens.
He finishes
that's what
the
happens
joke.
when the production staff gets too used to your sense of humor. Like he can tell I'm about to say something fucked up. I don't know if it's a look on my face or if it's just the way the conversation's going. Like, have you ever been in those social situations where you're either mixing two groups of friends or you're taking your friends or your significant other in front, like around your family for the first time, and somebody says something and your uncle's over there and you get to see him like pissed off.
Yeah.
He's just like, motherfucking Puerto Ricans, man. And your girlfriend's Puerto Rican. You're like, God, here we go.
No.
He's like, oh, it's not. You're one of the good ones. You're fine. That's what racist white people always say. You're one of the good ones. You're fine.
You're fine, man.
Yeah.
It's some other Ricans that I can't stand.
Turns out my uncle was Puerto Rican.
Yeah, turns out he was.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows, Giorgio?
I made all of that up.
Who knows it? Yeah.
It is because he is as high as you. That's what Brooke said. Brooke, I don't need your judgment right now from somebody that drinks White Claw at 2:00 in the afternoon and you have 2 children under the age of 10. I don't need to hear it from you.
Yeah. Mad Max says whoever wins needs to tell Ross to go back to the new guy. I agree. It is a tradition, and we should do that. So look, the Sarah Williams Award was started. This was the worst one of all time. So this, if you can't read it, but it says the shining examples of Drinkin Bros sports overhyped assholes. These are people who just get way too hyped up during the season, and they usually end up getting banned. Kalen Cothran though is the exception. He's I actually enjoy his shit, although he's still way too into Notre Dame, where it's like, bro, they're never going to win.
No, I mean there's a pretty good chance Notre Dame will win if all the other teams don't play.
Yeah.
But other than that,
That's
no chance.
pretty much it. So Stephen Edward was 2018. He was that Michigan fan who was just all in on Michigan. That was in 2018. It is 2020. Harbaugh has signed an extension for lower money, and he's back again. That keeps getting better and better and better. Kalen Cothran, Notre Dame fan, 2019. And then Sarah Williams, who the award is named after, 2020. That was the LSU fan who lost her shit. I would have loved to have gotten Sarah Williams on the show for this year for that 5-5 team.
Yeah, but she's probably like,
team.
look, honestly, Sarah Williams probably loses everything she owns to a tornado or a hurricane every single year, right? She's like one of those types of people, especially if she's a huge LSU fan, there's a decent chance that a hurricane wipes out her entire fucking life at least once every 2 or 3 years. So she's probably recovering right now somewhere.
Yeah.
We're not going to get a hold of her for a couple years.
We had a lot of worthy candidates this year. We did. Kalen was up there again. I was like, dude, is there a chance 2 people can win this?
Even if he doesn't say something, sometimes I just see his name pop up. I'm like, fuck you.
He was all in on Notre Dame, especially after they beat
Who
Clemson.
won his league? He's got a league, right?
Yes.
Who won that league? I mean,
we announced it on the show.
It wasn't him.
No, it wasn't him. But somebody else is going to do it, and they don't know what they're going to do with the jersey yet. So the Rudy jersey will be on its way. We had a lot of great contenders this year. Even Drew Eats with this fucking money line. No, it's not enough. It's not enough. Like, that's not enough to do it, obviously. You really have to talk a lot of shit and then just be so incorrect about it that you're just like, I can't hear this argument anymore. I'm going to read his full name. It's a 3-word name.
I don't think he's real. I don't think he's a real person.
I don't know if it is or not.
I think he's a troll, but that makes it even funnier because I want it to be memorialized that this guy, because there's no way the guy appears to be in his late 60s to early 70s.
Correct.
And he's like, his fucking only profile picture that's visible has like a big Black Lives Matter thing around it. There's no way he's a fan of ours. There's no way an old white dude with BLM all over his shit.
Well, somehow he got into the group, which is fine. It's Drinkin Bros Sports on Facebook is a private group. Anybody's welcome. And he just kept posting over and over again about Cincinnati, the football team Cincinnati. His name is Clarence Lamar Stone. And again, whenever anybody goes by all 3 names in their name, they're typically a fucking serial killer, which he might be. I don't know. But he is a Cincinnati fan. And he was claiming for just the last fucking 5 weeks, 6 weeks, none of these teams deserve to be in the playoffs. Cincinnati should have been in. They would have stomped Ohio State. I kindly reminded him that we did play Cincinnati last year, and it was 42-0. Yeah. Ohio State did play Cincinnati.
They didn't score any points.
None of the points.
But this guy is definitely a troll, but still you can tell he knows too much about Cincinnati's football team to not be he actually is a Cincinnati fan, it seems.
Yeah.
He's just a troll, which is fine because that's these other people, Sarah Williams, etc., were trolls without knowing they were trolls. Right?
Yeah.
They just couldn't help themselves. At least this guy's doing it on purpose. I feel like
I don't know if he was or wasn't. I don't know either way.
I feel like because he's probably a troll, it feels like he actually earned it more than the other people. Like, he went out of his way to get this trophy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And if he is indeed a 70-year-old man, he'll be dead soon anyway. So this is the last.
Clarence Lamar Stone.
So the last good thing that'll happen to him.
I will be taking this in and getting his name engraved.
Yeah.
He will be our 4th member here. And we'll also be getting a trophy made for the Super Bowl cooking show between Tansy and Jesse. So there will be a trophy after that and a trophy presentation and all that stuff after that. Same way with at Jared's house. So we'll be making a trophy for that as well. And then we'll put that up on set. Fun season, at least it got played. It got played. I wasn't happy with the end result. But look, if you're an Alabama fan, I side with you on the fact that, dude, you got to play through COVID. It's your own fucking problem. Yeah. It's the Big Ten's fucking problem on that, dude.
And that was a great team too.
Great team. So they deserve to win. It wasn't like a fucking fluke or anything. You just want to see teams at their height and then play each other. We'll never know that answer. But either way, not your fucking problem, Alabama. It is Ohio State's and then Trey Sermon for having weak bones. I don't know what happened.
I don't know if
what the fuck happened there.
Not
only did he leave the game, he went to the hospital. Second play, the hospital was a little extreme.
Well, I mean, if it's a compound fracture of the clavicle, you really got to set it pretty quick.
I don't know what it is, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like, that's what I was hearing, but he was in the fucking hospital. I'm like, oh, so he's definitely not coming back. But now we'll go to our, way too early predictions for this next season here, Dan. And man, I hate to say it, but we're looking at more of the same, in my opinion.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Alabama will be there. Clemson will be there. Ohio State will be there. Oklahoma, look.
Probably
Oklahoma I picked in my Final Four this year. Turned out to be a year earlier for Spencer Rattler. But, dude, that kid towards the end of the year looked fucking great. And he looked like he is worth the hype. Georgia's got to be in there somewhere in the top 5. I don't know about LSU, man. They're one of those teams that doesn't. No. They're like once every 8 years they look good. And
LSU's not going to do anything.
And then look, if Kellen Mond comes back for A&M's will be great. But if they don't and they got to start a new guy, you're kind of starting all over there. The only thing that I will say going into next year is all of these quarterbacks will be brand fucking new. Clemson's is gone. He's going to the draft. Ohio State's is gone, going to the draft. Mac Jones is going to the draft.
Not worried about Clemson.
Yeah,
I'm not either.
Fine.
So,
as a matter of fact, I think if I had to pick a way too early national championship winner for next year, I would definitely go with Clemson right now because, one, they're going to have the number 1 dual threat quarterback in the nation next year, and they don't seem to have any trouble maintaining all the best talent that comes out of that area. They're going to have great receivers. They'll probably have another great running back. But they also did really well in signing defensive players from high school. Yep. So I think Clemson's probably the favorite. If I were picking, I would say Clemson's the favorite.
I would agree. Look,
there's a good chance that Notre Dame is going to be in the mix too, because it is what it is.
Is Ian Book going pro? What's the story there at Notre Dame?
I think he can come back technically next year because
everybody gets a year, for COVID.
Year.
Yeah.
I can't see him going pro though.
I can't either. But look, I heard Kellen Mond was going to declare, and that's not a fucking NFL quarterback. I don't even know if he'll get drafted, to be honest with you. If I'm going way too early national championship prediction, I could agree with you, Dan. Clemson, man, we got to see that kid play against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And he fucking torched it. Notre Dame, not only was it a home game for Notre Dame with fans in the stands, but Notre Dame had a pretty fucking decent defense this year, man.
And Clemson did not actually play that well in that game, but he played very well. Their defense didn't play that great.
What was it, 48 to – it went to overtime.
48-42 or some shit like that, or 40 – I don't remember, 48-46.
Bob's on it.
Yeah.
It was
47-40.
47-40, yeah. So, that's not a great defensive performance for anybody, but it is what it is, right? I mean, when you're playing teams like that and you go into 2 overtimes, that's another 21 points added to that total. So, really, you're looking at a fucking
33.
It's like a 66 over, which is not crazy in college.
No,
you know and if you take those overtime points out of it, that's not that big a deal. So, this is a pretty good fucking game that got played.
Yeah.
Like a really good game that got played. And he did that without having any kind of personal relationship with any of the guys on the team, at least as far as getting first reps with them. And look at you can see the other stats.
He had 439 yards passing in that game. And
Etienne only had 28 yards
rushing. So this kid had to do it all. Scroll down. Did he have any rushing yards?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but they kept him in the pocket the whole time. But that's the funny part about this. This kid is actually probably a better runner than he is a thrower.
Yeah.
And we haven't even seen that yet.
No, DJ Ugalale, or I'll never pronounce that name right all year, so I'm not even going to
Also, I believe
try.
in college football, anytime you get sacked, it goes against your rushing yards.
It does. Yes.
But I mean, it's either way, this kid we haven't even seen. He's probably going to be the best dual threat in the nation next year. Clemson's going to shift a little bit. Like they're going to have to move back to Deshaun Watson time and move away from Trevor Lawrence time a little bit, but they're prered for it. They've run that offense before.
Correct, yeah.
And they were really fucking successful.
I think they'll probably come in at preseason number 1. Clemson will. Alabama at 2. Look,
if Mac Jones leaves, it's probably...
Mac Jones is gone.
Yeah, Bama's rolling in another 5-star. It doesn't matter.
It is.
For sure, but it's going to take him a little bit of time.
They got a sexy kid. Instead of Ohio State. Ohio State gets C.J. Stroud. I mean, that's literally Justin Fields identical. Like they'll be fine. And then Yeah, Bryce Young is his name. Yeah. They're real excited about this kid at Alabama. Like some of the staff on the team was really fucking amped about Bryce Young. That's all I'll say. But they think he's going to be the Messiah there.
It says 20th. His rank for recruiting is 20th all time.
Really? Yeah.
24/7.
24/7 is a.
They're stoked about Bryce Young. The staff is stoked about him, and they could reload.
He's 5'11", 197. That's going to be difficult to defend in college. I mean,
does he run?
Those short quarterbacks that are runners in college. I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen it at Oklahoma State or Oklahoma 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We've seen it with a number of guys. He's going to be good.
Is there any chance that Saban walks away?
He should.
No,
to be honest,
I don't think he should. With this crop of talent coming in, why?
Yeah,
if you're Nick
there's
Saban,
always going to be.
What else do you have to prove?
There's never going to be a good time for Nick Saban to call it quits. I don't know if he's got a number. A lot of these coaches have a number in mind. You know what I mean? Like, I want to
10 or like Phil Jackson. Yeah, I want to win the. Here's the thing with Saban though, a guy that eats, breathes football all day long. He eats the same food every day, wears the same clothes. Like, it's a weird, like, he's got all these weird habits that you're just like, all right, sweet. What would that guy do if he retired? He'd probably fucking die.
Yeah.
He has to keep coaching.
Spends more time with Miss Terry.
No. It's same with Urban Meyer, dude. Like, even when Urban Meyer left for medical reasons for both places.
Medical reasons.
Well, the last one was legit. I can confirm that. Like, he had a brain aneurysm or something fucked up or whatever. Now, the first one was an assistant at Florida, I heard. But I don't know if that's true or not. Allegedly.
I got to be honest, though. He needs to win more. He's not safe yet. 7 titles. Dabo's got 2. He's 51 years old. And when Saban's gone, there is no one on his level. Like, Saban had to deal with Meyer and Dabo and Les Miles. There's no one.
Dabo could win next year too, man. So,
and
I think that would keep Saban going.
That's a fair point, I suppose. I mean,
if Dabo won next year, that would keep Saban going.
I don't know if there is a safe number. To be honest, I mean, it's not like baseball where
I think it's 10.
I can't see right now how a pitcher drafted in 2021 will ever get 300 wins. I don't think it's possible now, right?
No, not
in Major League Baseball. Like the best baseball players right now, the best pitchers rather, that have had long, successful careers, Verlander, that Dick in L.A. Kershaw, they are still going to end up somewhere in the mid 200s in wins, even after the careers they've had, because the pitching is not the same as it was before, right? You don't last long. And maybe it's a rule change thing that baseball needs to look at. You know what I mean? Maybe starting pitching needs to be reimagined so that the numbers stay consistent. But
also, like, you have seasons where Syndergaard has like an unreal ERA and his team just sucks.
Well, that's happened throughout history, though, right? Like Nolan Ryan, for example, his career ERA is like 3.46 or some shit like that, but he's got 280 losses, I think, or 265 losses, somewhere around there. He played on shit teams his entire career. That you can't really plan for, but you can plan for the fact that the majority of starting pitchers get taken out in the 5th inning instead of the 6th inning now, right? As opposed to the 90s. You're not going to see that in college football. Dabo is going to be in Clemson for as long as he wants to be there. As long as he's still competitive, he'll be there forever, and he'll have all the opportunities he needs to win titles. So I think you're probably right.
Yeah, and the way college football is structured right now, it's going to be the same 6 teams.
Yeah.
It is. Look, college football, it does. It's all about coaching and recruiting, and right now, you can honestly say that it's Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. Like, they're the best at recruiting. They get the best players. They all go to the fucking NFL, all that shit, and Dude, I'm looking at the recruiting classes right now. Still the same fucking people, man, and they're just reloading over and over and over again.
People are already tired of it.
Yeah,
they're starting to.
I wonder what the ratings are like, man, because I mean, even Ohio State Clemson was the highest rated game of the year for any non-NFL. I mean, it was the highest sporting event from any non-NFL standpoint, and that to me tells me, all right, fuck, man. Or is it the team itself? Like, I don't know. I haven't seen the Ohio State to Alabama ratings yet, but I
mean, the way it's structured right now, it's they keep going with the 4 best teams, but at the end of the day, like, why play the games then? You could just pick those 4 teams before the season starts.
You could.
It's never most deserving.
You know, if you look at look at the Big Ten. In my opinion, the Big Ten is fucking super weak now.
The ratings for the national championship were an all-time low in the BCS era.
Yeah.
Really? Were they really? Yeah. No shit. Huh.
Because people.
What was the number? Do you know?
People would 25 million was the floor before, and this one was 18.7. So it was about 6.5 million less than the worst game ever.
It's going head to head against The Bachelor.
Yeah. So, well,
I mean, it just shows you people would rather.
Maybe you're right, dude. There's something to these teams, man. They don't want to see the same.
It's not about
teams.
I don't think it's about the teams. I think it's media. People would rather watch us talk about the game than watch the game itself.
Maybe.
Or they would rather skip the game and then watch the fucking highlights later or some shit. I don't know.
Hey,
Whatever it is,
we'll
people
find
are.
out
It wasn't
for a Super Bowl show.
It wasn't like the NHL didn't put up great numbers. Baseball didn't during their playoffs. The NBA was the worst they've ever had.
Yeah.
So something's happening, right? UFC is the only one.
Yeah, man. And so, by the way, we'll be going live. Are you guys going live for Saturday night, Giorgio?
Yeah, we'll be live.
For the UFC fight.
There's a ton
Max
of
Holloway.
good
Max
fight
Holloway.
cards.
That'll be a great one. Yeah. Shit, are you guys going to do a UFC show for that tomorrow? You're going to pick the card?
Yeah, we could do one.
Picking that?
If you want
or just
to.
pick it live on air. Shit.
Yeah, we could do a pre-show if we got time.
Just do it live on air. when you guys are going live.
Let us know in the chat if we should bring in the intern. Obviously, she's in town. I think she's stumbling around the back. I heard some noises.
That's really
Yeah.
funny.
So
Bring her in.
She was supposed to come.
She gets so fucked up on that show. With
She,
you guys.
well,
some
she
mics.
was supposed to come sit in the back and record one of her own shows today, but she got too drunk and it was I'm like, oh, it's 1:30.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You know.
I told her she's 27. At 29, that's when it's going to max out for her. She's going to marry rich, and she's got about 2 years to do that. So,
We gave her an opportunity, and she squandered it.
But that's what fucking girls like that do.
do we do it again? Let us know in the chat, guys. Let us know if we bring it back.
They're not gonna tune in.
How was the ratings last time? What happened last time? Were they amped about her?
She played a good heel, but I don't know if that has longevity.
Highest rated UFC watch along.
Bring her back, dude. Get her fucked up.
To be fair, we had 10 other people.
yeah, and she also knows a lot about UFC. Just
Really?
kidding. No, she doesn't know any. She doesn't know anything.
I believe at
kidding
one
me?
point she was arguing that the chicks could beat the guys or something,
Oh,
or was
God.
mad at Dan for saying
I didn't say anything to her.
no. Well, she was just screaming at you, but she was just yeah.
That's great.
That's pretty funny.
I don't
That's
know. I
fucking
smoked
great.
a blunt that was too strong. I don't remember a lot.
So we'll be here for that. What else? McGregor's coming up the weekend after, right? Conor McGregor.
Yeah, we actually have a fight Saturday. We have a good fight Wednesday. Then we have Connor the next Saturday.
Oof, that's a good man. It gets
Not bad.
Bangers of sports weekends, and then the NFL playoffs will be going on at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great.
NHL starts today.
Yeah, NHL starts today. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Let's go Blues.
I think the Penguins are playing right now, actually.
Yeah. So the NHL starts today. Shit, dude, we should call Zach Hurd and get him on for his predictions for the season and all that stuff. With COVID and all that stuff, man, NBA and NHL, all
They're
these
talking
start
about
times have
maybe
been weird.
canceling the season for the NBA.
They should cancel the NBA entirely.
Entirely.
Yeah, just
just
let's
ended.
just no. I mean,
No,
just
no,
like
I
in
mean-
general, let's just not do that
Nuke
anymore.
the league.
I disagree.
I mean, I find it entertaining, but do I find it more entertaining than LeBron James is annoying? No, right? If I could cancel the entire NBA, like the NBA just doesn't exist anymore, and I have to lose out on that, but I don't have to hear LeBron James and his half-baked, fucking shallow, pedantic social ideology, that would be amazing for me.
Even if you took out all the politics, they have the worst personalities of
Yeah.
any sports league.
Yeah.
Like they're just
They really do. They're the least team player people of all time. I've never seen anything like it
Everyone
before.
that likes the NBA also hates the NBA.
Yeah, for
They
one
love to
reason or
shit
another.
talk the NBA. That's all they
Yeah.
do. That's NBA Twitter.
And then, fuck, man, we got some, obviously the breaking news with James Harden being traded to the Nets.
Thank God.
Right when we came on air, or actually in the last show, it was announced that it was a rumor. But here we go with the...
I mean, that's good news for Texas. That piece of shit's not going to be in the state anymore.
Good
Yeah.
news for Philly that we didn't trade Ben Simmons for him.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Ben Simmons is Dan Marino, my man.
Yeah, he's not the fucking answer there.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry to tell you
Embiid
that.
took over last night at point guard and just took over. It was weird, but he scored 45.
Well, so the Rockets have sent James Harden to the Nets in a blockbuster 14 trade that involved the Pacers and the Cavaliers. Do you know how many fucking phone calls and how many people were up like super late into the night
So,
trying to deal with his
Hopefully-
asshole's demands?
I don't actually know the
Harden.
details. What are the details?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oladipo got traded too. Shit, that's a bigger trade
To
than
the
Harden.
Rockets.
Oladipo's on the Rockets now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Now the Rockets actually, that's a good trade.
fun
for
Well, he
them.
loses all of his powers when he doesn't have Indiana across his chest.
Oh, does he?
It's true. It's true. So the Nets
We'll
sent
see.
Houston a package that includes multiple players and draft picks, features Karis LeVert,
Yep. That's a
who
good
was then
pickup.
traded to the Pacers for Victor Oladipo. Center Jarrett Allen and forward Taurean Prince are headed from the Nets to the Cavs in that deal, while the Rockets receive Cleveland guard Dante Exum
I'll tell you what, man.
and Brooklyn forward Rodions Kyrks.
No,
Kyrks?
no one cares about
That's
that.
a fucking European nightmare. I don't
No
know.
one cares
I don't
about
know
that.
guy. Houston also receives Brooklyn's 3 unprotected first-round draft picks in 2022, 2024,
Those are-
2026.
Those will be shit picks.
Next
no.
year as well. It's hard to say about the ones after that.
Hang
but
on,
next year's
I'm
heavy.
not done. In the deal, plus pick swaps in 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027, the Rockets also get Cleveland's 2022 first-round pick via the Milwaukee Bucks.
So they have 2
And a
picks in a draft
future-
that's going to suck.
And a future second-round pick from the Pacers. Brooklyn will get a 2024 second-round pick from the Cavaliers. The Nets have 3 open roster spots to fill out on their bench if they choose. They have a $5.7 million tax mid-level. The minimum exception is likely to be 5.7 for the disabled player exception. Man, so now you got Harden, Durant, and Irving.
I don't care about any of that. What
Will they win?
No, they won't. What I care about is John Wall, Victor Oladipo, and Eric Gordon in a death lineup with Christian Wood, the same way that the Warriors played in
And
fucking
Boogie.
16, 17.
Boogie.
Boogie will swap in and out of there. And now that he's learned how to shoot the last couple of years, is going to be a good player on their fucking second team. But Christian Wood's averaging like 22 points a game right
Yeah,
now.
man.
Houston is a much better team today than they were yesterday. I'll say that.
I agree, and all those picks
This
as
is
well.
a great fucking move for them. They also set themselves up for the future.
And they got rid of this asshole.
I feel bad
yeah.
for Joe Harris. He will no longer shoot the ball.
No.
No, he's done there. Yeah,
Where-
they'll probably get rid of him because what's the point? Like you don't want a guy like that. You don't. He's a guy that benefits from volume shooting. You're not going to be able to spot him up in the corner and just let him take 4 or 5 threes a game.
No,
right?
Harden's going to ISO.
It won't work for him. Yeah.
He's going to piss off. They're just going to interfight.
Yeah.
The ball. There's not enough balls for those guys.
Well, we saw there's a reason.
Is Dinwiddie still there at the Nets?
Yeah.
yeah, if he's not in that trade.
Jesus Christ, man. Like, that's fucking gnarly.
Yeah. So it's we've seen this all before. We saw it with Westbrook, Harden, and Durant before. There's only so many shots in a game, and are you going to tell me that Kyrie Irving, right, and James Harden are going to have the same personality types to be able to fit in with Kevin Durant that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson did? There's no fucking way. You're talking about 2 of the most selfish players in the entire NBA.
Yep.
Players that have a history of not getting along with their teammates. The reason that KD worked in Golden State is because Klay Thompson and Steph Curry only care about winning. They don't give a fuck about anything else.
Yeah, and they were fine not scoring.
Yeah,
man.
they don't give 2 fucks about any of that shit. James Harden does not just care about winning. Otherwise, he would have won a chip by now.
He wants to
frankly.
score 1,000. Kyrie wants to
Yeah.
score 1,000.
I am excited though to see what like Kyrie Irving trying to talk James Harden into becoming
yeah.
a flat earther
Oh, yeah.
and just
Oh,
conspiracy
God.
theories. I'm
That
excited
whole
for
thing.
that.
And Kyrie was just at,
mean-
dude, Stephen A. Smith actually told Kyrie Irving this morning to retire. He said, I think you should retire. You do not want to play basketball. After he was maskless at the fucking party over the weekend and shit, and they were just like, we're all done with this. The Kyrie bullshit, this team is a fucking nightmare.
It's
He
one
opted
thing,
in to
like,
get
regard-
paid, he didn't opt in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless of how you feel about masks and all that bullshit, if you know for a fact that you being out without one
fuck up
can
your team.
possibly interrupt the entire season and
Yeah.
fuck your entire team over, you still do it, you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dinwiddie is hurt right now.
I
by
mean,
the way.
James
Yeah,
Harden
it's
wore a Blue Lives Matter mask without knowing what it was.
Yeah, he
It was
didn't-
like I thought it looked cool.
He didn't know what the thin blue line was, so he's definitely not watching ESPN because he would have
No.
known.
No.
Because all they talk about all the time is fucking social issues
That's
now.
it. They only talk about politics. Zion is ruled out tonight versus the Clippers for COVID.
Yeah.
The scroll of all of these games that are canceled every day, What's the real shit about the NBA? Do you think they'll be able to complete a season?
Well, yeah, they're pushing through it. The Sixers played with 7 guys the other night.
How'd they do?
We had our rookie Maxey from Kentucky scored 39. So,
but did you win?
We did not win.
That's the thing.
We were running out like guys from Purdue, like white dudes from Purdue.
Yes, that's what Ohio State was doing all year. And it's you have to play because you can't do anything about it. Like if you push it, it doesn't really matter. There's going to be more cases that pop up or whatever. Like the whole fucking thing's a mess. I can't believe that the NBA season is going on.
Well, I mean, George Hill, who is most famous for being traded for Kawhi Leonard, I guess. Like that's what he's most known for.
He had a decent run with the Pacers, right?
Yeah, I mean he's a good player. There's no question about that. But he's never going to be better than the people he's been traded for. Anyways, he said the first couple of weeks of the NBA season, he's talking about how oppressive the restrictions are, the stricter protocols for COVID, and he's like, if it's really this serious, should we even be playing? Like, what's happening? If it's and the answer to your question is, Mr. Hill, that it's not.
Yeah,
right.
That's what Kyrie keeps saying.
Yeah, it's not that serious. It really isn't. I mean, it is. The virus for particular people is serious. For most people, it's not. It's just I think we've arrived collectively as a nation at this point. I don't really hear a whole lot of people virtue signaling about mask wearing anymore. Everybody's just like, can I please just go to the restaurant and open my business and go to a concert, please?
Right.
And he's absolutely right about this. The league itself has no tolerance for it. And that's a mistake on their part. I mean, it's easy enough during an NBA season to postpone games and cancel them or make them up later and stuff like that. It's too easy to do that, to fucking do this stuff. Now, that doesn't excuse Kyrie Irving's thing. He did that. You got to think some of that's intentional. It's 2021. You are Kyrie Irving. You're in New York, right? You're in New Jersey, wherever the fuck you're hanging out at the time. I don't know where he lives. But you're hanging out at a party, you know for a 100% fact somebody's going to get it on film on their phone and post it on social media. You know that.
Yeah.
Right? So is he like sending a message? What is it? The fuck is it? Right? Because he's known as a guy that's not a good teammate.
Yeah.
Boston hates that guy.
He's the fucking worst.
He left a situation in Cleveland where they could have won probably at least 2 out of the next 5 championships after the one they won. With him, Love, and LeBron James.
Knowing the injury that happened to Golden State now.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Either way, they would have been competitive against Golden State. They would have been in it every single time. And he chose to not win chips because I want to do my own thing, man. It's a fucking team sport. Like what's going through your head if you're an NBA player and you're not 100% focused on trying to win titles? Like if you're one of the top players in the league, you're going to get paid no matter what happens. He's going to get a supermax everywhere he goes forever.
Yep.
Win. It's not about you.
Yeah.
So he's a clown. Kyrie Irving should retire because he doesn't deserve to wear the fucking uniform.
And he doesn't give a fuck about anything. Like he's made his money.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about Kyrie. There's nobody in the NBA I fucking care about, like at all. Luka, he's fun to watch.
Yeah,
Trae
Luka's
Young.
fun.
I gotta admit, I caught a Warriors game late last night, like the other day or whatever, and like, dude, I just forgot because they became so annoying. But like, Steph Curry is real fucking fun to watch.
Watching Steph Curry carry that team right now, especially after
awesome.
everybody
It's impressive. Yeah.
The final stats for this Alabama-Ohio State game, by the way, was a drop of 27% in viewers. That is not good. That is 1/3 of your audience there.
Yeah. I mean, what else is going on that people weren't watching that game?
Nothing.
The Bachelor.
No, dude.
Yeah,
The Bachelor sucks.
It was The Bachelor, but
It sucks. They get a bunch of whores for that dude, and he's a nice guy. They should have gotten some nicer ladies.
yeah, he's not a nice guy. He's just playing well on TV.
They need girls that are there for the right reasons, right?
Does anyone west of the Rocky Mountains give a shit about that game though? Like really? And
Alabama-Ohio State?
Yeah, and it started late on the East Coast.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
It was bad time, and also
Well, that's college football. It's Ohio versus the South. That's all it is.
right.
Yeah, I don't know. Why was the Clemson game so high rated then, you know? Like, what was the thing with that?
Better game.
Yeah, I guess so. Who fucking knows? 30%, though, that's a monster drop. Like,
Yeah, that's big.
That's not good.
Also, does that like kind of help with losing to Alabama, just knowing you got revenge on Clemson last year?
No, look, I say the same thing every year. I want to win a national championship. If we don't win, it's a wasted season. I thought this team genuinely could have won that game, like for real. If we had just all our players back and Sermon was able to run the ball, it would have been a really fucking great, entertaining game. And Yeah, when you don't win a championship, and that's the thing too. I guess at these schools, like when you're going every year for what seems like 20 years, 25 years at this point, or have a shot at it, if you don't win it, then it's just like, fuck. But I will say this: with all of those dudes out, that was the proudest game I've ever watched. Where we were getting beat, where it was like, man, I don't know who the fuck is in that game. When I don't even know the players for my favorite team, I'm just like, all right, cool, man. At least there's a body out there. But yeah. Other than that, D'Anthony, we'll get this bitch engraved. We'll be getting the fantasy football winners prizes out to you soon, and then Eric Tanzi will be back on Friday night with his show. He's actually got Muhammad Ali's wife on the show, which is pretty crazy. So I'm sure the stories behind that will be rad. And then you guys will be live for UFC Saturday nights. So tune in for that. And I know we talked about it earlier on the other Drinkin' Bros show about Patreon. We started one to do more aggressive shows on there that we can't put on YouTube. They're clamping down on all of us. We are interviewing Alex Jones tomorrow. So that episode, video and audio, will be on our Patreon.
Yeah, is that going to be...
We just started Drinkin' Bros podcast on Patreon.
People are asking, is that going to be live on Patreon, or is it's not going to be live? So we'll let you know when we're going to actually...
Does it have a live feature? Does it have a live feature?
Yeah, you can live stream on there, right?
We can. I figured you want to bring documents and do things.
Yeah, he's gonna have supplements that we want to edit in. Not edit the show itself, but actually throw shit up on the screen. So
yeah, I wanted to make it a really nice produced podcast for you guys because, like, I remember on Joe's, he brought in like so much stuff and was passing it around, and no one could see it, and no one really took time to go through it all.
He was going too fast.
Yeah, I'd like to read it and be able to put it up for you and highlight stuff as he goes through it in the show. And
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's he's as entertaining as it gets, and he'll give us the real scoop on all this shit. Unfortunately, YouTube is they hate everyone now, and the left controls the media, so there's nothing we can really fucking do about it. To be honest with you, hopefully you can afford $1 or $5 or whatever it is on Patreon, and that will not interrupt our daily shows. It'll just be extra shows.
Yeah.
So you're welcome for it. Tim Dillon's one of my faves. He's doing it, and he had a New Year's Eve special with Alex Jones.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of other big, not to call anybody out, so I'm not going to do that, but I've talked to a couple of other big podcast people that do stuff that kind of walks up to the edge of what's acceptable these days and what's not. It's not the profanity stuff anymore. It's the political stuff mostly. People like Tim Pools and other ones.
Oh yeah. I was listening to your mom's house on the drive here.
Yeah.
And I mean, they went fucking hard as rain, but it was no political stuff.
Yeah.
So it just seems like YouTube and the left and all that shit cares about politics more than what you're actually saying. I mean, we talked about squirrel fucking earlier on the other show. So who knows? Who knows? But again, we're not going to stop having the people we want on. We're just going to move it over to another thing.
Yeah.
And it won't affect your day-to-day shit here. We'll still be doing the same amount of shows and everything. So if you can pony up $1 or $5, go to Patreon on Drinkin' Bros, and then go to iTunes and subscribe to the Drinkin' Bros Sports. Leave a 5-star and a quick review. For D'Anthony Holloway, I'm Ross Patterson. This is Drinkin' Bros Sports. Good night, everyone.